Joining us now, Will Sommer, senior reporter for The Bulwark, and Dana Milbank, columnist for Notice. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining us this morning. Dana, I want to start with you. There are so many things this week that happened that I should have been expecting but wasn't expecting. And I think reinforces the Fox News feedback loop that this president is tuned into, and also the Natalie Harp issue, but that's something we'll get to in a little bit. But if you were reading the same news that I think we're reading and watching and consuming, the decision to go on the White House lawn and show off a helipad to reporters and then take a honor lap in the presidential beast and the presidential limo just seem like two extremely tone-deaf decisions amid the raft of other economic news that are going on right now ahead of the November midterms, where Trump is already expected to, lose control of the House. Right. What is going on here? How are these decisions being made?
Right. So we're in the let them eat helipads phase of the of the Trump administration. Right.
Especially when
or bread and circuses, but we don't actually have the bread. It's just circuses right now. And I don't get the sense, I don't know if you guys do, that Trump is thinking a whole lot about the midterms. He loves the inflation. But what he's thinking of is living his best life here. So now, look, if they want to have an Indy race in town, terrific. If does he really need to have a new ballroom? But the problem with all of these things is they're being funded by us, the taxpayers, and they're being funded by corporate donors who are seeking things from this administration. So it's not just fun and games. It's actually, corruption right here in front of us. So
I think something that's really important is in 2011, reportedly, he was supposed to drive the ceremonial pace car, but they pulled him back because of his racism with the birther conspiracy when he was at the top of that. So just throw that on the table. So I guess he's been dreaming of doing this since then. To Dana's point about Trump living his best life while other people aren't, right? Usually presidents want everyone else to live their best life, and they don't sleep, and they sacrifice for 4 to 8 years of their life, right? They don't see their families because they care about the American people. And yet Charlie Herman writes this for MS Now. It's about Trump living in his own bubble while Americans express concern over his administration. Trump is embracing cryptocurrency, even as Americans express concern about his financial ties to the industry. He's touting artificial intelligence data centers that have become politically toxic. And his administration is filled with millionaires and billionaires to a degree unmatched by his predecessors. He is in a Fox News bubble, but he does engage in other news. We know because he tweets about it, right? Like Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan were on this show, and he tweeted about it 3 times, I think, that day, talking about their hit. So he does watch other news, and yet he just completely ignores it. And I've said it before on this show, and I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. Donald Trump likes to create a reality and then force other people to live in it. He created a reality in New York as this top tier, guy who was going around. He was the best at buildings. He knew how to do it. When in actuality, he was doing bankruptcy, right? Right before The Apprentice, he was at his lowest when it came to how good his businesses were doing. And then The Apprentice, he learned that you can trick people into believing everything. You sit at a boardroom and say, I'm the best, and say you're fired, and then everyone thinks you're the best. And he's doing the same thing as president. Republicans don't seem to care, but the American people seem to.
I think there's a lot to that. I think he's doing things that, I think if you looked at it, you would say, well, this must be the best country ever if these are the problems they're focusing on.
I want to move there.
I mean, he's pillaging the national parks budget. He's taking away stuff meant for guardrails to keep people from coming off cliffs, to make gold statues in D.C. of horses and things like that. And so I do think there is this sense of creating this spectacle. We know Sean Duffy's going to be out there, the Secretary of Transportation. He has a whole new reality show about his family funded by, companies he regulates. I mean, it's such a mess, but I think you're right that he's trying to create this image, even though, I think the cracks are very visible.
So I don't know if you heard me loudly snort during Jackie's intro when she read the social media post from the president when he said, what was that thing where he said, Canada wants the benefit. There it is. Canada wants the benefits of being a state. And I snorted. because
You laughed.
and snorted. I laughed. Right.
In fairness.
And I snorted because this is, to Eugene's point about the president creating his own reality. So he's now back on his jag of Canada is a state. This comes on top of him over the last couple weeks now talking about the Strait of Hormuz being a, quote, U.S. territory. And this comes also, what was this, a couple days ago, we don't have it here, but we're going to have it later on, when he was asked about the bond markets, and is he going to ask Secretary, oh, we have it? Where is it? Let's play it. Let's play it. This is about the bond markets. You got to hear this. Dana, watch this.
Did you direct Secretary Bessent to intervene in the bond market? Was
No,
that your idea?
not at all. No, he's a very capable man. He wanted to do it. He's very good at it. He has a good touch, very good natural touch for the bonds and interest, and he did that. We have many types of intervention. That's one. The ultimate intervention is our military, and if we have to use that, we will.
Dana!
Yes. So
Use the military on the bond. That's not a thing. But I bring all of this up. Strait of Hormuz, Canada. Let's send in the military for the bond markets. We should be talking about this man's mental acuity.
Right.
I just gave 3 examples
Right.
from just the last couple of weeks, and there are multitudes more.
Yeah.
Why are we not talking about his mental
We
acuity
are.
when
Right now we are. Yeah.
spent? Well, we are. But more people should be talking about it in the way they were giving
Right.
President Biden hell
Yeah.
for walking with a stiff gait.
It is bananas. And you could see the crew of the USS Abraham Lincoln saying, the good news is you're leaving the Persian Gulf. The bad news is you now have to attack the bond market.
Right.
But, and the Canada thing, of course, I mean, there was another quote from Trump this week where he said, we're going to bring about economic ruin on Iran like no country has ever seen. I'm like, dude, you've done that to the United States of America. 50% tariffs on Canadian goods are leading
$40
trading
trillion debt.
So yes, we've said it, and it's been said before. We seem to be living in an alternate reality, but the voters do not, at least at this stage, seem to be fooled. And I do wonder if Trump, in some ways, has sort of detached himself from the midterms. Keep references to how he's not on the ballot, taking a certain pride in things not going well when he's on the ballot.
To your point about people, being hip to the game and not being satisfied, there's a Washington Post Ipsos poll asking people how you feel about Trump's Washington, D.C. projects. So very specific question. 65% are dissatisfied, upset.
Plus minus, the margin of error here is only plus or minus 1.9. It's very accurate poll.
And the sample size is 22,648. That's everybody.
I want to go back to the mental acuity thing, because I have started to think that the reason that people aren't talking about it, and Jackie, you're always at the White House, I think there's so many scandals happening around this White House and this administration, like on the list of things, like it just doesn't register. And when you have the Biden years, there weren't that many scandals. And so it is something that was much more like, you would put a printer ink to it, right? Like you would send a reporter to go and think about it a lot more. And I think now, $2.2 billion in a year that he made from all different types of investments. He's on the lawn saying that the Soul Grow people gave me this lawn. Oh, also they gave money to my campaign, right? There's so many things over and over and over again that's corruption. Maybe I'm wrong, Jack, but in my head, that's how I think it is.
Well, whenever we've gotten into this debate on the show, the thing that I've always come back to is I think White House reporters don't talk about it as much because he's always had these
weird ideas,
strange tangents that don't make any sense, and middle of the night musings and nonsensical policy ideas. Are they getting more far-fetched and more nonsensical? Perhaps.
But I guess my why I get so enraged by this is, why is he being given a pass? He's president of the United States. No other president. Just one of those things, no other president would be able to survive.
He's getting all those passes, quote unquote, because of all the other things. Right. Like, would you rather people focus on the fact that he used a decoy plane and had his Secretary of State and Secretary of Treasury on there instead of his he's writing on Twitter all the time.
It's because we're just drinking out of a fire hose. Think about how many times Trump made fun of Biden using the little boy stairs. Can you imagine what would have happened if Trump had taken a catering card off of Air Force One? Yeah. But I think it's just this preponderance of potential scandals that keeps us.
Will, do you think he's getting a pass?
I think as Dana said, I think in terms of the polls, I think more the broader electorate is not giving him a pass. I think there is that kind of hardcore 32% of voters, hardcore Trump supporters who are sticking with him. And they have this kind of right-wing media machine that places like Fox News, these
but do you
blogs.
think reporters are giving him a pass?
Oh, in terms of reporters? I don't know. In a way, I feel like to Jackie's point, I think there's so much crazy Trump stuff that goes on. It can be hard to narrow it down. I mean, just, talk about the corruption. I mean, the selling the Truth Social post. I mean, we could be here all day listing them, and before you even get to the mental acuity.
Yeah. Well, we will always get to mental acuity because, honey, Jonathan Capehart is here to bring it out.
That's right.
It's a good conversation to have. Will Summer, Dana Mills,
talk more about it because
coming back this weekend.
Enough mental acuity, though, to make profitable crypto decisions.
Or somebody's making them. He says it wasn't him.
Right.
It was his people.
Wasn't me.